Bike Culture Happy Hour Week 6. We're super excited for today's show and we're excited to see who's tuning in today. Make sure you guys use that chat window to chat with us along the way. Tell us how things are going for you. We've really loved hosting these events every week as a chance to just hang out, check in with each other, see how things are going. And it's always so interesting to see who tunes in. Every week we bring in a variety of guests on the program that we want to give you an opportunity to get to know and we are personally curious about as well. So we've been going through our roster of folks in the bike realm that we've always been interested in talking more with. And if at any time you have suggestions for guests that we should invite in on the show, we would love to hear from you. So you can go to our website at filmbybike.org and get in touch with us. And we'd love to hear from you. Ideas for folks you think we should have on the show. If you think we should have you on the show, we'd love to have you. So Bike Culture Happy Hour is happening every Thursday here on YouTube. And we're just going to keep running these until we feel like we don't need them anymore. When things start to go back to normal, we'll probably phase them out. But for now, we're really enjoying connecting with all of you here on YouTube. So we've got a great show lined up for you today. And we're going to go through and introduce our guests one at a time. We've got Marley Blonsky, the Life on Two Wheels blog. She's a bike adventurer based in Seattle. Marley, so great to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Yay. We've also got Greg Hum. He's Humdrum. He's Greg Hum from the Boston Bike Party and the Boston Midnight Marathon Bike Ride. Also a former Film by Bike filmmaker. So it's super awesome to have you here, Greg, tuning in from Boston.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
And we also have Holly Prendergast. She's probably the most esteemed guest today because she has quite a title. She's the bike mayor of Austin, Texas. So it's so great to have you here as well, Holly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'd like to give a shout out to all the bike mayors. We'll talk more about that, but a good friend of ours, the brown bike girl, Courtney Williams, was recently nominated Bike Mayor of New York City, and what a time to receive that nomination. She is a Film by Bike juror of this year, and it was just really cool to see her become the bike mayor. So we're excited for her. She's got a ton of events going on for New York City right now to help people stay connected at this time. She's really embracing her ambassadorial duty there. So folks who are tuning in, feel free to ask questions in the chat. Let us know what you're sipping on for happy hour. Feel free to make comments and we'll read them off to our guests as well. So just to get things started, let's talk about the Bike Mayor thing. What is that program all about and how, Holly, did you become the Bike Mayor of Austin, such a cool cycling city?
So the program was established and it's coordinated by Bikes, and that's spelled BYCS, and they're a social enterprise that's based in Amsterdam, which, global capital of cycling. And so they work internationally with businesses, governments, nonprofits, etc., to kind of break through ideas around cycling. And they have started this program, the Bicycle Mayor and Leadership Network. And it's independent city change makers who are working to accelerate the adoption of cycling in cities around the world. So for the last 7 years or so, I've been really involved in Social Cycling Austin here, which is a big group of cyclists that we have rides pretty much every day of the week, from Bike and Betty's, which I'm one of the co-leads of that. That's our Monday Women Trans Femme bike ride, to Thursday Night Social Ride, which is kind of like the big flagship ride. Several hundred riders, can get a little bit crazy. Saturday Morning Caffeine Cruise is another one that I'm really involved in with leading. And so through that and some other, bicycle work that I've done, actually somebody nominated me for the program. They had heard about it, kind of put the feelers out in the city, said, anybody interested? And then ended up saying, Holly, I think you'd be good at this. So she nominated me, went through the process. It all got announced in like mid-February as the whole COVID thing was kicking off. So it's been a little bit interesting trying to figure out how much do I encourage people to go out at a time like this, how to kind of adapt to what originally I was hoping to do with it, and kind of change course a little bit. But I'm excited and actually celebrating a little bit today because our city council met and they approved a healthy streets initiative. So, as you've seen with cities all around the world, that are starting to open up streets to pedestrians and cyclists and vulnerable road users. And so a resolution got passed today. A coalition of about 30 organizations got together petitioning city council for this. I think we had around 1,000 people sign the petition. So that's some really exciting news here in Austin, and hopefully it's something that will be successful, and that we can pressure them to keep up even after social distancing restrictions eventually, start to get lifted.
Yeah. So,
whoa, sorry.
Go ahead, Marley.
Exciting news here in Seattle. So we had something similar with the Healthy Streets program, and it was just announced that they're making 20 miles of it permanent. So once this is all over,
that's so exciting.
And it's so exciting because this is something our neighborhood greenways have been advocating for a long time. So. I don't know. There's some good things coming out of this, and it's a real catalyst for change.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And this is a great time for me to mention. We've mentioned it before on Bike Culture Happy Hour. This is a very safe space for being okay with talking about what I call the COVID silver linings, the good things that are coming out of this time. And that's not saying that we're ignoring the fact that this is a very challenging time for so many people in so many ways. But as a species, we will never evolve if we can't learn to see the good in certain situations. And there are cool things like what you guys are talking about coming out of this time. So totally safe space. You do not need to make any disclaimers. It's totally okay to just go for it when you've got things to talk about that you think that are happening right now that are really awesome, because those things are happening too. And we need those little bright spots in our days as well if we're ever going to get through this. So that's for sure.
Well, I've heard that this pandemic is being referred to as the Great Revealer, and it's showing a lot of the things that cities are facing in terms of equity and access to safe spaces to be able to go out and exercise, and be able to enact the social distancing and just so many things that it's revealing about our culture, our society, and really making people think about where are we at now, how do we move forward, and what are the changes that we can make to just make everybody safer and happier and healthier and a better society. So again, those silver linings, as tragic as everything is going on at the moment.
Yeah. Craig, what's up in Boston? Are there any street closures or anything to open up access for safe recreation outside?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely been some street closures. I think, man, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot. I know there are certain towns, I don't remember exactly. There are certain towns that have definitely been shutting off streets. They've been making some temporary bike lanes, which is really great. And of course, everything here is really quiet. So just biking in general is so much more pleasurable all around.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
So with the Bike Mayor program, Holly, is this something where they're trying to get a mayor in every city? Kind of where is that program headed, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. So they obviously start in Europe. They've got quite a number of bike mayors there. Also, India, they have a large amount of bicycle mayors. Latin America, a good showing. And so kind of North America and the U.S. especially, they're trying to really get this program off the ground. As you mentioned, Courtney Williams was announced this week as the New York bicycle mayor. So congratulations, Courtney. We've also got a bike mayor recently announced in Washington, D.C. And there's been one in Keene, New Hampshire for a while. And I know that they're wanting to get more people. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely check out bikes.org. Again, bycs.org. And read up about it, read the information. You can submit for yourself, or if somebody, if you know somebody that you want to nominate for it. they also take nominations, and the process that's involved is they want you to get a couple of letters of recommendation from people in the community, bike organizations, people who support your application, and then they want you to write up a bit of a work plan about what are your goals, how do you hope to achieve them, and things like that. So again, as you mentioned, Austin, we're actually pretty good bicycle city. We've got a lot of organizations, everything from if you're a road cyclist, or you're a casual social cyclist, a city cyclist, or you're a mountain biker, are you a racer. We have all sorts of groups. We have also a lot of bicycle organizations, but one thing that I hear from people is that it can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, or they don't know where to go to find, they know that there's an organization out there or a cycling team that they're interested in. So I'm trying to work to kind of be like a cohesive source of information for what everybody else is up to. What is our bicycle advisory council doing, and what are they up to, and pushing at city council and pushing the city to do. And also bikes, the organization, they have this initiative called the 50 by 30, where they really want to promote that 50% of city trips be done via bicycle by 2030. And that was something that I feel very passionate about, as you think about climate change, some things that we're talking about just healthy, successful, active cities. And I tend to veer more on the city cyclist. I'm on my bike to go somewhere downtown. Austin traffic has increased incredibly. I was born and raised here, and I've just seen how much more difficult it is to drive around. there's trouble parking, all of that. And so a lot of times it's just faster, frankly, to bike. It's less stressful. Roll right up, lock my bike in front of the business that I want to go visit, and not have to circle the block, looking for a parking space. And so also I want to, help encourage women to view themselves as a cyclist. You don't have to be in a kit out doing, 75 miles on a Saturday morning. If you're on a bike, you're a cyclist, and we're all in this together. And so doing my work with the Bike and Betties, and we have a really great bike organization here called Yellow Bike Project, that twice a month they have a WTF shop night where you can go and work on your bike, meet female mechanics, get help with repairs that you want to do. So we're just trying to be like a cohesive source of information, so people know, can come to me, go, I need help, I want to find a ride like this. Or I can also be that advocate for the cycling community to go to city council and make noise online, and try and put some pressure on our elected leaders to support our cycling community.
Yeah, that's so awesome. After Courtney got elected, and then bringing you on to the show, I started looking into it a little more, and we don't have one in Portland. I started thinking, like, gosh, who would it be? I mean, for, Marley and Greg, you guys are probably in the same situation because you guys are in such great bike cities as well. It's like, there's so many people. It's a neat program, and what an honor that you're in that role. Mm-hmm. And based on what you're sharing with us tonight, you seem like an awesome fit. I love it when an everyday cyclist is in that kind of a role. That's just so important to me, that idea of just come as you are, do what you want to do. So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, Marley, I know you recently led a workshop. I've heard rave reviews. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and some of the cool work that you do?
Sure. So it ended up being 3 workshops. They were all online, and who knows, maybe we'll have more. But it was all about how to make our cycling communities more inclusive to people in all body sizes. So I identify as a fat person. It's no surprise. You see me, you're like, oh, she's fat. Cool. But people often discount me as a cyclist. And so me and my friend Kaylee Kornhauser, who was on the cover of Bicycling Magazine, she'd be a great person to have on your show, by the way. We got together at the WTF Bike Summit, so Women Trans Femme Bike Explorer Summit, last summer in Oregon, just outside of Portland. And we gave this workshop, and everybody was like, oh my God, you need to keep spreading this message. Like, it's so important to hear how we make, our group rides more inclusive, or, how hard it is to find a raincoat as a person in a larger body, like all these things that we don't normally talk about. So we are supposed to give the workshop at the National Bike Summit in DC for the League of American Bicyclists. And then pandemic. So another silver lining, we were able to give it to a much wider audience than folks who would have been able to travel to DC. So we've got I have a blog post up that's kind of halfway completed right now, but we'll be sharing the recorded talk, we'll be sharing the presentation and our resource list, because it's a really important message, I think, for all communities, not just people on bikes.
Yeah.
Or that want to be on bikes.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like there is a growing awareness in the cycling industry in particular, or at least in the cycling culture. I shouldn't say the industry. Let's forget about that. Let's pretend I never said that. I'm not very hopeful in that department, but I won't go down that tunnel.
We can.
We could. I bet you and I could really talk about some things. But I do feel like, that cover of Bicycling magazine, it doesn't matter what you think of the magazine. That's very prominent. That's on, the newsstands. That is seen. Being seen is important. I feel like there is a growing awareness for body positivity. I'm hopeful. And I'm so glad to hear of the work that you're doing, because it is so important. And I'm hopeful that we are moving in that direction where people are going to understand that.
I'm hopeful too. One of the things that we talked about in there, or in our talk, is kind of the difference between body positivity and fat acceptance. Because body positivity is something, we all internally experience of, I feel good about my body or I don't. Whereas, there's so much systemic oppression of people in larger bodies where, I go to the doctor for a sore throat and she's like, you need to lose weight. It's like, those aren't related. Or, like we were talking about finding clothes as a fat person. I've got some really cool other clothes, but when it comes to technical cycling clothes, it's getting better, but it hasn't always been that way. So, yeah.
So I stumbled upon your workshop last week, like the night before. You had it on, I think, last Thursday, and I immediately texted one of the other ride leads for the Biking Betties. I was like, we got to watch this and check it out. She wasn't able to make it, but I watched it. And one thing that you brought up that wasn't even something that had crossed my mind before was even just the structural integrity differences of bikes, and that's something that you have to be aware of. And I found it really, really helpful. I really enjoyed your presentation. And again, one of the silver linings of this pandemic is I could sit in Austin, Texas, not be at the Bike Summit, and still be able to watch this really interesting and informative webinar. So
thank you.
I really appreciate y'all putting that on. It was really good.
That's great feedback. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So Marley, any projects coming up or any other things that you're working on these days?
Yeah, Holly's talk about her work with Biking Betties. When you asked me before, am I affiliated with anything else? I forgot. Yes, I'm a co-lead for Moxie Mondays, which is a similar to WTF group that rides on Mondays once a month. We probably should do it more often, but we're not riding right now. We're just having virtual Zoom calls. But every summer we do a Moxie Summer Jam, where it's a big alley cat style race. We normally get around 100 WTF folks out for it, and tons of prizes from the local bike community and bike orgs. So we're trying to figure out what that looks like this year. It will be the 10th anniversary of the ride, so we still want to do something, but we're just not sure what that's going to look like, whether it's going to be virtual or some sort of scavenger hunt. We also don't really want to ask small businesses to donate prizes right now. That doesn't seem like a very good thing to do. So I think that's my other big project, is working on that, and scheming bike camping routes for when that's open again.
Yeah, that's awesome. How was the WTF ride outside in Oregon, the summit? What was that experience like?
Oh my gosh, it was phenomenal. So I was lucky enough to go to the first one in Montana 2 years ago, and then the second one in Oregon was just like even bigger and better, and brought up so many conversations about inclusion and diversity and who's not represented at the table. And it was really nice, except for my panel where I was a speaker. It was really nice to hear other voices, people of color and trans people talking about their experiences, because those aren't voices that we typically hear in the bike world. So learning how to, be a better ally as a white woman, it was just, I don't know, it was great community building, lots of silly fun. We had a no talent show,
Nice.
where it was such a comfortable group that I was like, I'm gonna go juggle. And granted, I've never juggled in my life successfully, but I just got up there and did it, and everybody laughed and had a great time, and it was just silly and fun. And I'm sad that there's not another one happening this summer, because they decided to focus their efforts in other places. But I'm hopeful that, little like seedlings have been planted and there will be regional summits or something, because it was really quite transformative.
It does seem like there is kind of this growing regionalization for WTF Bike Explorers. I mean, I mostly follow on Instagram. Even though it was in Oregon, I didn't make it out to it, but I love that movement. I love following the hashtag on Instagram is inspirational, and seeing what folks are up to and seeing the diversity of folks involved and getting ideas for trips and getting excited and motivated to go on trips, and just seeing that it's like everybody's doing it. It's such a variety of people. People don't have fancy gear. Some people do, some people don't. And just that idea of just take what you've got and just get out there and enjoy it.
Exactly. And that's been my motto all along since I started biking and bike camping, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. Like, you don't need anything fancy. Like, you don't have a rack on your bike, throw a backpack on. It might not be that comfortable, but then you might get a rack if you really like it, It doesn't have to be fancy. Start where you're at.
Yeah, and you might find they actually prefer a backpack. That's what I love is like people tell you you're supposed to do it this one way, and then you do it this other way, and you're like, I have friends that are like, I really like riding with a backpack. I'm like, great, go for it. If that's your thing, like there are reasons why you may not like it, but if you like it, go for it. And I love that about just kind of hacking your way into stuff like that, not worrying about like what you're supposed to have in this prescribed system for getting out and adventuring and riding and even city riding, all of that. So
Totally.
So Greg, give us a little update on what's going on out in Boston. I know you're involved in the Boston Midnight Marathon Bike Ride. That sounds super cool. And Boston Bike Party has a huge reputation. I hear about you guys all the time. I think some Boston bike folks have moved out here. So
amazing. That warms my heart. Thank you.
Yeah. I love the bike party movement in general, by the way. It's so cool.
Yeah, me too. So two of my babies are, one is the bike party, the Boston Bike Party. We're the Boston chapter of a greater movement. Bike Party came out of California and San Jose. Those crazy cats. The idea is like my whole thing is I just love spreading bike joy and I love doing silly things on bikes. So our Bike Party, we get a couple hundred people together for a monthly bike ride around the city where we roam. It's probably very similar to how you were talking about your Thursday social night rides. It's probably similar to that. Like I have the Bike Party leader flag behind me right now. So we mount that onto a bike, and then we usually have a like the Bike Party sound system up front, blaring dance music, so people are getting into the biking, and then people who see us in the street are dancing along with us. So we do that every month, and since COVID hit, we've been trying to keep that party going, keep people engaged. So there's two things we've kind of done. Instead of a bike party ride, we did just a virtual dance party last month. That was a lot of fun. Just your standard Zoom virtual dance party where we had a DJ come on, and then people rotating on the spotlight,
cool.
and being very silly, wearing their helmets and all kinds of fun bike gear while dancing.
Good.
Yeah, and then we've ramped up. We've had a Facebook group, which is like a game of bike tag. We call it Tag and Bag. So it's just like a bike tag scavenger hunt where you have to it's an ongoing thing that's been going for years. But basically, the idea is you got to go to the Facebook group, and there's a photo of someone's bike in a mystery place in the city. And you got to go find that in real life and take a photo of your bike in the exact spot that bike is. So you can still play that while social distancing. So we've kind of getting the word out about our Boston Bike Party Tag and Brag Facebook group, where you can still go out and have your own personal scavenger hunt bike party.
I love that idea. We just heard about bike tag here. I mean, maybe some people here knew about it. I didn't, but bikeportland.org just did an article talking about bike tag.
Oh, no way.
And we're really hoping it catches on here. I'm sure.
Oh, man.
The weather's
same in Seattle.
Yeah.
Somebody put it on Twitter, and then it was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this now. Like, great, go.
Do it. Make a group somehow. We've had one going in here in Boston for literally 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah, similar to Austin. The Austin subreddit, the bicycle ATX subreddit, they're up to number 400 and something, I think now. Yeah. So, yeah.
Let me see. I think I had a spoke card that had like all the ones that I did, because at some point we were making spoke cards with like your like thing on it.
Oh, cute.
But yeah. Anyway, I don't know where it is. It's not in my immediate reach, so I can't show you guys.
Can I ask a question for you guys?
Yeah.
So I used to go on rides all the time with spoke cards, and
Yeah.
for a while they were on my wheel, and then I don't know what happened, but they got taken out at some point. Do you guys ride with spoke cards in there? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I like them. We've had some people design some cool ones. Social cycling every twice a year we do a lap jam, like a summer lap jam and a winter lap jam, where we have people kind of race on a little course, and then we do a fix a flat competition. And so normally we have a spoke card for that, and then Cranksgiving. We do an awesome version of Cranksgiving in November, and so we have them for that, and I like them. I collect them. I don't really ride with them because, similar to you, it's either jam it so close into your spokes and hope it stays on, and then also I have a couple of bikes, so if I'm switching between them. When I did have a fixed gear, I rode with it a little bit more, just kind of that style.
Yeah. I agree with Holly. Like, spoke cards have been like an incredible engagement tool for bike events. And like what we used to, we haven't been doing it this past year, but for like a good 5 years for Bike Party, we had a volunteer artist design a spoke card every single month for every ride theme. So we'd have a different party theme, and then for like a good 5 years, we accumulated like 50 different designs, 50 different spoke cards, and it became a thing where we'd hand out. We'd only be able to print like 100 in the beginning. So like you can only get a spoke card if you showed up on time for the ride, and you just happened to catch me and our buddy John like handing them out. So what would happen is like people would show up to the ride on time just to get a spoke card, and then like some people got really into collecting them, and we've been short on staff this past year, so once we stopped, some people were like really really wished we had not stopped. And like actually I used to have all my spoke cards kind of up on the wall here, but it was I find it to be a really awesome engagement tool, and I think the key was like making sure you train people to like jam it into 2 different cross sections so it doesn't come out, and then check every couple months. But like every once in a while I'll be like riding around town and I'll see a bike with like 30 different Bike Party spoke cards, and I'm like, oh man, I know exactly which ride that was. I know like what theme that was. Like, yeah, it's cool. I find it to be really really good community engagement tool.
Yeah, I love that idea. Fred Zelt, who's tuning in on the chat, Fred Zelt from the Social Distance Cycling Club on Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, great group that catapulted into thousands of members in absolutely no time. Fred's in Pittsburgh, and he says that typically there are spoke cards for the Alley Cat rides there and the monthly summer evening Pittsburgh underwear ride.
Wait a minute, what? Tell us more.
Tell us more about the underwear ride. I don't know, riding in undies, I'm all for it. It's going to be a hot summer, come on.
I mean, I'm all for like midnight bike rides. It's kind of my other baby, which I was about to talk about, was the midnight marathon bike ride. And literally it's just a bike ride with thousands of people who kind of sneak on the Boston Marathon route the night before. And it's a multimodal ride where we take the train out with our bikes to the starting line and then kind of ride back into the city. But yeah, Fred, what is this underwear ride?
I know. Sounds pretty awesome.
Actually, that reminds me of I went to Petapalooza a number of years ago in Fort. Yeah, I think that's where I met. That's when I came out for the film festival. So I met Eileen, and there's some kind of midnight ride that I went on.
Yeah, we have a midnight mystery ride once a month. It's been going on since 2003, and it's once a month a different ride leader, and they meet somewhere and then ride to a destination. Only the ride leader knows where they're going, but everybody just kind of goes along. And the idea is to find a place to hang out and chill outside of a bar, in a place where it's not going to be a problem and not going to bug neighbors or anything, and just kind of hang out as long as people feel like hanging out. But it's really not as much about the ride as it is about the destination, or at least that's how the event was originally conceived of. So yeah. Fred says that this underwear ride, I'm going to call it the undies ride. The undies ride is great. He said it starts at 8, cycling the city with 200 to 300 people in underwear.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Wow. There's in Seattle, we have the big Solstice Festival every year, and it's become known as like the Naked Bike Ride Party, which is funny because there is a big parade. It's a non-motorized parade, so all the floats have to be people-powered.
Cool.
But then there's always a contingent of naked cyclists at the beginning of it. Unfortunately, this year got canceled, so be curious to see if, on the solstice, I just see a lot of naked folks riding around. I live right on the parade route, so kind of bummed that it's not happening because it's definitely a really fun, like, all right, summer's here, let's do it kind of thing.
Yeah. We came over with a really cool idea last week at the Bike Culture Happy Hour. And by the way, shout out to Becky Joe, who's in the chat right now. She was one of our guests last week. She's a columnist on bikeportland.org talking about her journey as a car-free person, as a car-free cyclist. So we came up with this idea. What we do in Portland and other places do this as well, is we like to do pennants for Pedalpalooza. And it's a printed on felt pennant that you can get during the event, and it's a way of saying I'm into bike fun. And you see people all throughout the month of June during our month-long celebration Pedalpalooza wearing that flag on their bike, attaching it however to their bike or to their bag or something. And then some people leave it on all summer long. But I love it because if I'm out riding around the city and I see someone with one, I'm like, you're cool. You go to Bike Fun Stuff. And it's, thousands of people, but still, I'm like, get all excited when I see that. And it's cool to see that other cities use that as a signifier as well. So, Pedalpalooza just launched their pennant for this year, and Pedalpalooza is still happening. It's just happening with different styles of events, like Bike Tag, hopefully. But we came up with the concept during the Bike Culture Happy Hour last week to do a global pennant that is just a bike fun pennant. And it's a way for, we're talking about these cool bike fun events that are happening in all of our own cities. And it's a way for people to put those on their bikes and say, I still stand with bike fun, even if things are looking different right now. So we're going to launch it on Saturday. We'll have a page on our website where people can download the PDF and print their own. Crafty folks can style it up on actual fabric or something else. I'm sure some people will.
Oh, man.
So it's going to be exciting.
We'll just put that on our bike party flag. We'll just put it right under the thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think for me, I'm really excited about it because it is a sign of the times. This era is definitely going down in the history books, and it's going to be a nice keepsake to have to showcase how we all got through this time. Mm-hmm. So we're really excited to launch the Global Bike Fun pennant. It's got a cool graphic on it. That's the same as what Pedalpalooza is using. They just kind of translated it for us. But that'll be neat. I love these ideas of like spoke cards and pennants and these signifiers that are just a way to glance at someone and be like, oh, you like to do this stuff that I like to do.
It might come off as wrong, but that's how I feel when I see somebody else on like my style of bike. Like if they have a basket in the front, or like a safety pizza, or like a dynamo light, I'm like, yeah, you're practical. Let's be friends.
Safety
Which is
pizza.
so ridiculous because like I think anybody on any kind of bike is totally valid and awesome, but I see that and I'm like, I like you.
Yeah, I once met this couple and they're friends of friends and I get along with them and all, but they ride the same bike. They both ride the same bike and they ride the same bike that I ride. And so I just assumed we were going to be great friends. And we're not. We get along fine, but we just don't really hang out much. But I was like, I kind of assumed we were going to start becoming riding buddies because we were like this trio. We took a photo of the three of us together and they were like, yeah, that was fun and all, but like it never happened again. And that was years ago.
Yeah, there's a guy who lives on my street who just moved in and he's got like 5 bikes and I'm like, every time I see him, I'm like, I want to be friends with you, but you can't really go introduce yourself to your neighbors right now. So
yeah,
maybe one day I'll catch him on a ride. Or maybe he's watching. I don't know. Neighbor, you're there.
You can leave maybe he's watching or they're watching, or maybe you can leave a note in the saddle. One time when the last time I visited Portland, I was staying with a friend and I made friends with his roommate, and I saw her bike downtown somewhere in Portland, and I was flying out, so I wanted to say goodbye because I hadn't had a chance to say goodbye. So I stuck a Post-it note that said hey, great meeting you, goodbye, nice to see you later, and then I rolled it up and stuck it under the saddle, and she didn't find it for a year. So if you do that, make sure you have it sticking out a little bit so you can see it. That's really important.
Pro tip
It's a
from
good call
Greg.
For Biking Betty's, one of the ride leaders, she made like a rubber stamp with our logo. And again, social bike ride, usually we do like a park stop halfway through, chill out, socialize, or we might end at a restaurant, food trailer, bar, or something like that. And so she would just bring little scraps of construction paper and markers and the stamp and a stamp pad, and we would just kind of have like little craft nights at the park, write about Biking Betty's or social media handles, and then you could have like these little just kind of business card sized piece of paper with the information that if you saw another female cyclist out and about, a bike that looked kind of, girly, you could just leave, the card on their bike seat or hand it to them and say, hey, come ride with us next time, and here's all our info. So that was one thing that we did, is kind of just easy grassroots, simple outreach. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I feel like now is a great time for that kind of thing. Like the idea of leaving a note in someone's saddle or in their basket or something. Like, I want to start doing that as I'm going around the city, just to kind of say hello and be like, yeah, we got this. And, we know it's hard, but it's a fun
Especially, oh, sorry, because, like, as you're riding with your face mask, like, people can't tell I'm smiling. Like,
that's what I say all the time. I know, you have to get good at the head nod,
the wave.
People to wave, yeah.
I know, I keep telling people, I'm smiling. I'm like, you can't tell, but I am. I just tell them I'm smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are folks doing a pretty good job in your cities wearing masks while they're riding?
Not really while exercising in Austin. I ride with one. My housemate and I, we've both taken the decision to ride with one. But here in Austin, it's recommended that you wear a mask when out of the house, but they did say in their stay-at-home orders that there's exceptions if you're exercising. So people, if you give them that little bit, they will take it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've been getting kind of mixed messages from our leadership here in the state. Austin, very liberal city, had done kind of more restrictive orders, and then our governor came in, said, no, we're going to open up the state, and local governments are not allowed to make anything more restrictive than my order. And so he's kind of circumventing and local governments from having this kind of decision making for themselves. And Texas is huge. Something that works in Lubbock may not be the same as a place like Austin. I do give a lot of credit and thanks to our leaders for canceling South by Southwest preemptively. They got a lot of flack for it, but I think things would be a lot different here if that had taken place. So I choose to wear one as much as I would like other people to wear one. You can't force other people's behavior. So I just try and be a model of good practice. So
yeah, I've been seeing a lot more masked bikes here in Boston. I'd say it's like 70% of people I see riding around now. So it's like not 100, but it's been like pretty stark, like how fast it went from like no mask to everyone's wearing a mask now, even on bikes.
Totally.
Yeah. So Holly, Fred in the chat is wondering if there's any story behind your bikes and wondering why one bike is hanging up and the flat bar bike's more accessible.
Okay, so
little bike nerdery here.
I've got a couple, and I kind of move things to look nice behind me. So the Bianchi up on the wall is kind of my primary one, and then I've got a Cannondale, which the Bianchi was a Christmas present this year, so it's kind of replaced my Cannondale. I'd always wanted a Bianchi, and a dual citizen with Italy, so that kind of like the Italian and the beautiful color. And then the thing behind me, I think it must have been a bike parking fixture at one point, because it's got stuff to bolt it down behind it, but it's my housemate's. He brought it and kind of he was like, oh, you're gonna be sitting here, let me position it. And then I've got some cool like bike prints that I bought during Flatstock, which is a poster show during South by Southwest, of 3 different bikes, and then another print that a friend had given me for my birthday. And then the pedal actually usually has I don't know if y'all can see it, a bunch of bags hanging from it. So I've got various different kind of bike themed art throughout my place. I have a lot of clothing, dresses, and shirts and everything with bicycles on it. Just kind of, I like a good theme. So bicycle, it's good and versatile and fun. And the holder for the Bianchi, actually, one of the ride leads from Social Cycling, Biking Betty's, really cool woman. She actually made it herself out of some handlebars and some plumbing fixtures, and she had 2 that she had made to hang bikes in her place. And then, as I'm sure you all experience, you get a bike and then you slowly get more, and they tend to just multiply. And so she ended up with 4 or 5 bikes and had to change up how she was hanging them, and graciously gave me one to hang my bike. So it makes a good decor / functional place to store stuff. So
yeah, and that makes a great backdrop.
Yeah.
We here, running theme here at Film by Bike headquarters, YouTube Live, very boring backdrop we've had all season long. We launched these with about a week and a half of prep to get our live streams going, and we still haven't attended to our backdrop. Last week, though, we did have a bike in the background, so maybe I'll step things up a notch for the rest of our events throughout the season.
It looks great, Eileen.
Thanks. So, Greg,
set it up as a virtual background.
Yeah.
So, Greg, I know you've got your drum kit in the background. I know you're a drummer. Tell us a little bit about you drumming by bike.
Oh my God! You're releasing all my secrets, Eileen. So
well, it's out there on the internet.
Oh no, I try to hide it, but yeah, no, I have a secret talent, and I can play the bucket drums, while riding a bicycle. So I'm a drummer, I'm a musician, and there's like some drums in the background back here. So I actually play like real drum set drums, like rock drums, but. When I first got into biking, I had a couple friends in Boston. My one friend, Galen, who like strapped a bucket to his handlebars, and he's a drummer too, and was just like playing it during critical mass. And so we'd go to these bike rides, and there'd just be like, just like marching beats, boom, da-da-dum, 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 as the critical mass was going. So I was like, wait, I'm a drummer. I love biking too. I should just try that too. So like one day I found a bungee cord and like one of those 5-gallon buckets. I don't know if you can see. There's actually one. It's right there. It's just kind of sitting up there right now. But like I strapped it to my handlebars, and then the rest is history. Like I grabbed a pair of drumsticks, and I got really good at like playing the bucket drums while I was biking, and of course having like one finger on the brake in case I needed to stop and stuff. But yeah, like I made GoPro music video. I made like a bunch of videos of me traveling around the country and drumming in different cities. And I made a nice little montage film that they played at Film by Bike one year. And there's a clip of me getting pulled over by a cop, which I haven't released anywhere yet. There's definitely a clip of me eating shit on a sidewalk that I haven't released yet. So it does
have the blooper roll. That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
totally. Surprisingly, the blooper roll is probably just going to be that one fall and maybe the cops. But yeah, I did this for like a number of years, capturing video, and I got to a point where I could bike really fast, and I actually joined the New York City Monster Track Alley Cat while drumming one time.
Wow.
Talented.
But I survived. I made it with all my limbs and my drumsticks, thankfully. And yeah, if you look up the Hum Drum on YouTube or Greg Hum Bike Drum Guy, you'll see some of my hilarious, like crazy videos of me like drumming and biking in the snow in a snowstorm and stuff. So I'm a crazy guy. I like things that in my 20s, which I question whether or not I should be alive.
Hey, well, that's the way to live life, though, right? If you're not questioning how you're living your life, maybe you're not living life right.
Yeah. I also have some bike stories from my 20s where I'm like, really? Good memories, but.
Yeah. We wouldn't have Film by Bike if I didn't do questionable things in my 20s. So it's
perfect.
This is how we came up with this crazy idea, which is now what it is. Folks in the chat are really appreciating your drumming tales here, Greg. They're telling you it's a superpower and that it's pretty impressive. So that's awesome. And also, Peter,
Yeah.
Peter Kuntz, shout out to you, Peter, one of our regulars here on Bike Culture Happy Hour and all of our online events, is wondering if we're going to see that film on Saturday being our last event in our Bike Movie Night series. So we might have to pull that out. We haven't quite finalized the program for this Saturday, so maybe we'll have to pull that out of the archives.
You're welcome to if you'd like.
Thank
I don't know. It might be. It's been a long time since I've seen that video. It might be embarrassing for me, but
That's hilarious. Well, folks, we're getting close to winding things down here. Any final remarks? Any info you guys would like to share with folks? Projects you're working on? You'd like to talk about causes that are important to you, or just any well wishes and words that you'd like to share with our audience before we start to wrap things up here?
Who wants to go first?
Sure.
Holly, go first.
Yeah,
Okay,
the mayor.
well, yeah, just
mayor.
Kind of what I'm trying to do for Bike Month is I've committed to, biking or doing something bike related every single day. So if you want to check out my Instagram, BMLN Austin. Instagram wouldn't let me sign up with mayor in the username. So BMLN Austin or Bicycle Mayor ATX on Twitter. Daily rides or, might do some more informative videos and things like that. And I'm hoping that, eventually when we can all bike again together, it'll be great. But in the meantime, still go out there. Exercise is important. Get that vitamin D and some sunshine. Be safe. Have fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly. Let's go on to you next, Marley.
Okay, cool. Any wise words that I have? I don't know. Be kind to yourself. Bike however it feels good right now. I know there's so much out there about, use this opportunity as a time to get fit or hit those goals. But also, we're in a pandemic. It's okay to take it easy. But also, this is such a cool opportunity to envision a different future for ourselves. You talked about climate change earlier. That's what I do for my day job. I work in sustainability. And so people are really seeing what things look like without cars everywhere and without air traffic and that sort of thing. So I would just encourage you to be creative as we go through this and see what new paradigm we can come out with.
That's awesome.
I guess I can shout myself out on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just my name, Marley Blonsky on Instagram. I also have a blog, Life on Two Wheels. I should put more content on there, but if folks have ideas for content they want to see, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Cool. Thank you. And Greg, how about for you? Any parting words you'd like to share with our folks who are tuning in?
Man, keep the music going. Whatever music means to you, keep the music going. Keep the fun going. And then the last thing I'll say, because we didn't really talk about it, but I used to poo-poo indoor cycling a lot. But since the pandemic, I've totally I've gone whole hog into indoor cycling, and I use this video game called Zwift, where it's you bike around in a virtual world. And it's totally the coolest thing ever. So anyway, keep the music going, whatever that means to you. Stay healthy and be kind to yourself, like Marley said.
Awesome. Great parting words there. And you broke the seal we hadn't yet talked about. Not for any reason. We just hadn't yet talked about indoor cycling on Bike Culture Happy Hours. So thank you for breaking that seal. No dirty secrets there. Thank you guys all so much for joining us here today. We had Greg Hum from the Boston Midnight Marathon Bike Ride and also Boston Bike Party, and somebody who drums by bike. Look him up as Humdrum. You can find some videos out there on the internet. Also Holly Prendergast. She is the bike mayor of Austin, Texas, making all sorts of great stuff happen there and lots of great inclusion for everyday cycling there. We also have Marley Blonsky from Life on Two Wheels, a fat positive cyclist and a bike adventurer based in Seattle. So thank you all so much for joining me. Links to these folks are all down in our information. So if you want to find out more about the great work that they do and what they've been talking about, you can search them up that way. And I recommend following them on Instagram because you'll get to see all sorts of great stuff. Thank you, all of you, for joining us here in the YouTube chat and making your comments. It's been great to hear from all of you. We love seeing you guys here week after week. And just a reminder that coming up this weekend is the final event, number 4, bonus event in our Bike Movie Night series. Big thanks to the bicycle community for making this happen. We challenged you to help us meet our goal for our 3 scheduled bike movie events. And we busted beyond that goal, and we were able to unlock access to this 4th event for free. Deep cuts, directors, deep cuts. I'm the director. They're my deep cuts. That's kind of the concept. We're digging into our archives from the past 18 years of the world's best bike movies. And we're going to show you a nice collection that's going to allow you to sink into the couch and turn off your brain and not think about the news and just sink into a great collection of movies from filmmakers from all over the world. So that's this Saturday. It's absolutely free. You can get free tickets on our website, filmedbybike.org. Tell all your friends, encourage them to join in as well, because we'll have this live chat going. So it's a great opportunity for the global bike community to come together. And then after that, we don't know what things are going to look like for our 18th annual film festival here in Portland, our signature festival weekend. But we do have virtual events going for our community of tour hosts. So if you live in a city where you'd like to see Film by Bike happen, we are doing specialty events for different cities all throughout the world. We've got a great event series coming up in St. George, Utah, kicking off next week. There'll be 2 shows in St. George put on by their Bike Alliance there, and those will be for the St. George, Utah, Southern Utah community as a virtual live stream. So we're all for that if you want to make that happen. Otherwise, when we get back to regular gathering in person in theaters and other venues, our regular tour program will resume, and we visit about 50 tour stops throughout the world throughout the year. So thank you all so much for joining us here on Bike Culture Happy Hour. Thanks everyone for tuning in on the chat and making your comments there. We look forward to seeing you all this Saturday, and we also look forward to seeing you guys next week here on Bike Culture Happy Hour. And once again, thanks to all of our guests for joining us. Great to have you guys here tonight.